Welcome to what is going to be an epic episode of Give It a Nudge. We have finally got Caitlin Judd on the show. Caitlin has done many things, very well known for her podcast, Lady Brains, but we're going to explore all the other things she's done and is going to do today. Welcome, Caitlin.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me. Finally here.
And I've seen you 3 times this week.
Aren't you lucky? I know.
Which is crazy.
I know. I hadn't seen you for ages, and then
like a year,
long
year,
time.
I don't know. But yeah, and then 3 times in 1 week.
I know.
It's nearly 3 days in a row.
I mean, you basically now have to hire me because I've just been hanging around, loitering.
Are you going to be here tomorrow as well?
I know. I'm getting on a flight tomorrow, so I cannot be here. But I'll be back.
Well, you have been asking questions of people
Yeah.
many times. I don't know how many shows you did. A lot.
Yeah.
Over the years in all the different formats, you would have done a lot more than I have. So I'm a little nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. We just have a very different interview style. That's all.
I bet. Mine's completely unstructured and unplanned. I'm sure you do a lot of research.
I know, I saw you last night and I'm like, so what do you want to talk about tomorrow? You're like, I don't know. Are you coming in tomorrow? I'm like, yes, I'm coming in tomorrow. And meanwhile, I've, spent hours researching, curating my questions. But no, look, they're both great approaches to interviewing.
I did try that research stuff.
Not for you.
I find that I'm thinking too much about all the research and not thinking about the conversation.
That's
Whereas if it's a conversation, you never know where it's going to go. And I have to listen to you because otherwise I've got no questions to ask. So I'm forced to pay attention, which is a weakness.
This is true. Active listening. No, it is a good way to do it.
But we're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about you.
Oh, I don't know.
So don't try and turn that around.
I will. I'll try and turn it around a few times. But yes, okay.
So where should we start? Let's start. Not quite at the beginning, but where did you grow up in Australia?
Melbourne.
I'm
a Melbourne gal.
Yeah. And whereabouts?
The eastern suburbs.
Okay.
Where I went to, uni, school, kinder, primary school. Like when you just
We're going the wrong way.
Going the wrong way. I really went backwards, didn't I? That was a Benjamin Button moment. But I really, I grew up in such a tight knit, small community in Melbourne, right? Not small, but
that's Australia though.
That is, isn't it? You don't really move for education.
No one moves. I've been here 25 years now.
Yeah.
And I've moved all over Sydney, which people frown upon.
Yeah.
And they can't get their head around how I can live on the North Shore and eastern suburbs, all over the place. They just. I was in Manly at one stage as well, which people cannot fathom at all, other than the people that live there. I think growing up in England's not quite the same as that. But
that's true.
But you headed overseas pretty quickly, right? So let's start there.
Yeah. So I was living in the southeastern suburbs, went to school, and I was at Monash actually, and I saw that you could do an exchange program.
What were you studying?
I was studying a Bachelor of Business Marketing and Media and Communications with sociology as well.
Gosh.
So I was I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I got out, which I think so many people, most people don't really know. So I was like, what's really general? I was like, arts, and let's do business as well, just for a bit of backup, just in case. I knew I liked. I had the creative brain, and then I also really loved business and business management. And so I just thought, let's follow that path. But I remember getting into, I think, year 2 or 3, and I saw the exchange program, and I was just like, let's do it. And no one that I knew, none of my friends had considered it. We talked about it. Like, it wasn't really, now I feel like everyone kind of takes a semester or a year overseas.
Yeah.
When I was
wasn't a thing?
No.
Did you do in England? It was a big thing to do a student exchange at 15.
Yeah,
so when you were at school, you go to France.
Okay.
I went to France. We had a French girl came and stayed with us. That was quite common.
So I could have gone to Japan, but I stopped learning Japanese at year 10. If I had carried it through, but I was doing 2 languages, so I was like, nah.
Japanese is not like a natural extension of English.
No, not really. It is. I loved it. I really enjoy it, but no, I didn't carry that through. So then I missed out on Japan.
So where'd you go?
I went to Miami,
which is super cool.
Which is so cool, and I set my Excel spreadsheet to measure all the different components of the universities in the US. I was like, okay, do I want to go to Boston? God. Too cold. Do I want to go to, Arizona State? Too big. Do I want to go to, where's the best party life? And,
Miami.
Obviously Miami.
Hot fun.
And it was all those things. It was, I swear, I actually saw someone last night who we met at the University of Miami, all those years ago. And we were just like, it was like living 3 years in 6 months. Like, it was everything and anything you could imagine doing, we did it.
And it wasn't Melbourne.
Pardon?
Wasn't Melbourne.
It was not Melbourne at all. It was, it was really eye-opening.
There's a lot of energy there, right?
So much energy, very transient.
Yep.
So it's a melting pot. You meet people from all over the world. And that's where I've established kind of, friendships, right? I've got friends that are in London. I've got friends that are in, Spain. I've got friends in like lots of different places because we all met there. Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I know, that's how a lot of people build, I guess now their networks through exchange or through, living and working overseas.
You're right. It's quite common now. Did you learn, you would have learned a lot in terms of life. Yeah. Did you learn a lot in terms of uni, or was it really just a massive life experience?
But there was a little bit of study there. No, what was cool was actually doing international marketing. Okay, I guess studying international marketing in another country, you learn a lot. And, you do deep dives into huge American companies. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And they would have been ahead in terms of their everything.
Absolutely, right? Everything's bigger and better, bigger budgets, everything, Yep. So that was great. So I liked that. Yeah, and advertising. So advertising and marketing with the international lens. Yes, I definitely think it helped me, kind of think obviously locally, but also globally.
Yep.
And I carried that through. And even coming back to university, like I remember we came back and studied Starbucks and why that failed in Australia,
which
why it didn't, it did, but then being able to, having kind of studied or applying that a lens from the other side, from America, and then coming back, it was great. And, I loved kind of jumping and diving into that and adding my perspective, having kind of, studied it over in the US as well. So that was cool.
Was it hard to come back?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
I didn't. I met someone, fell in love and stayed there for 2 years.
You omitted to mention that a minute ago. Yeah. I mean, when I said, what did you learn? You didn't say, I fell in love and stayed 2 years.
Yeah, I fell in love. In the first weekend, met someone, which is quite crazy. That really set the trajectory.
Exotic
my
person?
entire life. Oh, yeah. He's gorgeous. But, that's really funny that my whole life did change because of that.
Wow.
That moment of going, I'm going to go study. And I chose that university. And I think my life has taken a certain path because of that decision.
Sliding door moment.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think everyone has that moment.
I think you have a few.
You have a few?
You can recognise them not then, but later.
Yeah, down the line. You're like, what did that, what's that resulted in?
Yeah.
For sure.
So you lived in Miami for 2 years.
Yeah, on and off. I was, the US.
Still studying
there, a few other places, but almost 2 years.
Okay, so where'd you go from there? What happened after that? So are you still in love 2 years later, hopefully?
Long distance isn't easy.
It's not ideal.
It's not ideal. It's also not easy getting visas over there.
No.
I think I got every visa under the sun. But after I studied there, I interned there, I worked there. I used that place as a bit of a hotbed to really experiment and try everything. Mm-hmm. And the opportunities that were presented were amazing that you just don't get here.
No, and you still don't.
It's
the same in London where I grew up. There's just more going on.
Yeah.
Like it's as simple as that. There's opportunities here, but they're very few and far between in comparison.
Totally. And I think you just you make your own luck. That's what I say.
Yep.
And that's a very I think especially American kind of mindset.
It's much more positive.
And they really, they foster that, they encourage that. And I just remember going, all right, cool. I want to learn how to sell high-end artwork to high net worth, individuals. Then I worked, for a glossy magazine on Fisher Island, one of the private islands off South Beach, where like Oprah has a house.
That's cool.
And I was, and then I tried my hand at acting. Like I tried, I worked for the second biggest theater in America. Like
you just did everything.
And then that's where I learned how to. And it's funny because we'll talk about obviously Lady Brains, and I look at that and I'm like, how did I manage to kind of create a business that marries, I guess, community, media, founder, supporting founders, and just and really kind of creating something from nothing. And I was trying that in the US. Like there was always that. Kind of that you can make it. You can build something. I was working in the theater in America, and they needed someone to do like a behind the scenes segment. Like I got to go on stage, chat to du Soleil, like all of the incredible artists. And I created this segment. I got sponsors, so someone would do my hair and makeup for free. Like I turned it into a YouTube. There's like YouTube videos of me, on stage interviewing. Yeah, and like it's, I look back at that and I go, that's pretty savvy for a 21-year-old to believe that I could go into this huge organization, pitch myself as like this person that could do the interviews. I had no experience.
Do you think, I've got a question. Do you think you believed or do you think you didn't not believe? So I think a lot of people don't think it's because they believe they can't, right?
Yeah,
But
true.
I think particularly there are countries that don't necessarily foster it as much as the US. But so do you think you went in there thinking I can do anything, or did you just think you could go in there because why the hell not? I'm 20, what have I got to lose kind of thing? And no one questioned it because they don't so much there.
Yeah, I think ignorance can be bliss.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just, it's heaven.
It's heaven. It is. I think there's that. I
Doesn't last though.
I know, right? I wish I still had my 21-year-old mindset.
Oh yeah.
I could do anything. That, I think it was also just being in the environment and, like that is encouraged to kind of job craft, right? Create your job crafting, which is going in there and making your role or your job to better suit yourself.
Yep.
And then I also think, like I was, fortunate to have, I guess, a partner at the time that was just really encouraging. I was like, yeah, get out there, like go do it, get out. We were talking about, he was a surgeon. So he's like, we were just talking about, your daughter wanting to be a surgeon. And he was just like, go do whatever. And I was like, yeah, cool. Why not? Also, no one knows me.
Yeah.
There's that piece of,
that's true.
Being anonymous.
There's no judgment, no school friends, there's nothing.
Nah. So that gave me license. That's
it's fundamentally formed you, really, these years, because you're still young.
Thank you. I don't feel it.
But this would
I'm not 21 anymore.
But you're still changing now, right? You're going through a change right now. But
hugely,
this would have had so much to do with forming sort of core values, all that kind of complicated stuff.
Yeah, it did.
That is within you that sort of sets everything off, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't obviously, like any life experience, it's never a straight walk in the park, or daisies, but it, yes, it does set your values. It also makes you question your values. It challenges you. What do I want? Do I want to be here? Yeah. Is family important to me? You definitely start to ask yourself bigger questions when you start to put yourself out into environments that perhaps are uncomfortable.
And you're alone to some degree.
And you're alone. And, that's been that, do you know what? That was probably the moment that really formed and developed my independence and probably has pushed it too far, I think, I've looked, and people are like, yeah, you're so confident, so strong, and, you've done all these amazing things. And yes, all of those things, but I'm also tired. I'm ready for it, I do. It's funny. Sometimes I think that perhaps I push that too far and,
sometimes.
How do you pull it back and find that kind of, softer, more graceful.
Are you getting better at that?
Yeah, I am.
I feel I am too.
I'm practicing it.
No, I just feel I'm a little bit more aware.
Yeah, it's awareness, it's self-compassion, it's kindness. It's also going, you don't have to force yourself through the world and life. Like if things are meant to be, if things are meant to happen, they will. And I'm trying to lean into that and believe that more.
I think if you open yourself to them, though, that's the key, right? Things happen all the time.
Yeah.
But you have to not just recognize them, you have to be willing to. You've taken quite a lot of risks in your career. We'll get into that next.
Yeah.
But, you have to be of a mindset of willingness to try.
Yeah, you got to give it a crack, is what my friend and I used to say in high school. Just give it a crack. And
you did. You went to Miami and you gave it a hell of a crack.
I gave it a hell of a crack.
So when did you get back?
So
how long were you there?
Back and forth. Not long. Like that was 2010, 2012. Yep. I was back, and that's when Mum was like, "Okay, time to go get a real job." time to go get a real. You know that, and it's so funny. You just look at your upbringing, and I'm sure everyone has this story, whether it's your parents, whether it's society, whether it's someone telling you what you should do based on their values, based on what they think is good for you.
Thank God you didn't get a real job.
Well, I did.
Well, not for long though.
I did. 2.5 years, I think it
long.
was. It was.
It's really not long.
Yeah, because so by the time I was 25, I was back out on my own. Let's be honest.
And what was the real job?
The real job was it was a marketing role, but it was in the manufacturing industry, and while I enjoyed my time there and there were people that I enjoyed working with, it wasn't suited to my personality.
No.
Like that's not, it's
no
just
Miami.
It's no, that was also, that was in the back of my mind. But no, there was just this, I had this kind of question that was always in the back of my mind, like, well, what else? What do you want to do? Like, what impact do you want to have?
Yeah. And
I just felt, after like the wild ride of living in America, coming back and then settling in and to a 9 to 5.
Did you have that moment? This is awful.
This is not me. It's not me.
Can't do this for 40 years.
No, absolutely not. So yes, I gritted through two and a half. I learned a lot in that time, but it was not enough to keep me there. And look, perhaps if it was a different role or a different,
I don't think so.
But I think at the end of the day, like
that wasn't a sliding door moment. That was just
that was a hiccup. That was a hiccup.
Yeah.
It was exactly. And sometimes you
need hiccups.
You choose the path of least resistance, but sometimes. You do wonder when you're driving to work and you're on autopilot. You're like, yeah, this is probably not it. And I wanted to have impact, and there was always that entrepreneurial kind of like, people say that, but it was just always like buzzing. And I looked at people that were doing their own thing and creating their own wealth and changing the world, and I was like, that's cool. That's cool. It looks hard. And I know it's not going to be easy, and by every stretch, it's not been easy.
It's never easy.
But like, would I change it? No.
Of course not.
No, I wouldn't. It's the most rewarding and wild adventure.
We talked about this a little bit at the event, like that we both had very small speaking parts at last night. We both said that it's an exciting place, the world that we live in terms of just creating things, right? And working in communities and stuff, and it's a magical place, I think.
Yeah.
I think I said that last night. Did I say magical?
Did you say magical?
No, I don't think I did. I should have.
Oh my God, you
it's
were
a good
really
word.
feeling good last time. It's a magical world.
Maybe.
I'm like, there was a song there. I can't think of it, but yeah.
No, there's no singing on the show.
Am I not allowed to sing?
Well, you can sing, but if you sing, I feel I will, and then I think it will be bad.
No, wonderful. I could look if I bash
Can
out
you sing?
a tune. Look, yeah.
I feel like most girls can sing.
Can they?
I think so. Most, not every, but I think more than guys. I think less guys than girls can sing.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know why I think that.
Oh,
I've got no basis for that at all, like
that
zero.
Claim. You just made that up?
I've made that up on the spot.
Okay.
I'm just basing it on me.
Just go and ask 10 women today to sing and see if you're right.
Get arrested, for sure.
Probably.
Those days are gone. Those days are long gone.
Those days are,
Although, if we take a camera, you can ask people to do anything.
It's true.
Yeah, you can, and then it's not inappropriate anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
which seems wild, right? Because
everyone wants to be a content creator.
Everyone wants their 5 minutes of fame. Yeah.
I feel like we've lost track. Hold on.
Okay, let's go back on track.
You're back. You're leaving this manufacturing company. What are you doing? Did you decide to leave and then work it out, or did an epiphany come to you and an opportunity came up?
This is the full origin story, isn't it? So basically,
we can gloss over it, but just give us a clue.
No. And this is another really important piece of my story, I suppose, is while I was there, while I was working, the 9 to 5, and those questions were coming up. What more do I want? What's my legacy? What's out there? Why do I feel disconnected from this work, and what am I going to do about it? I was listening, actually probably not listening, I wasn't listening to podcasts because they weren't around then.
No.
But I was watching webinars, and I was reading, blog posts and articles all about kind of female leadership and women in the workplace.
Mamma Mia must have been about that.
Women's Agenda.
Okay.
A few others. So it was, because I was in the manufacturing industry, very male dominated.
Very.
All of the execs were male. And that was my first taste of, oh, fuck. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yep.
Because I'd come from Miami where I didn't see that. Like a little bit, but a lot of my bosses and the CEOs were women.
Really?
Oh my God. Yep.
I did not know. I'd never lived in Miami at that time, but I'm surprised. I thought that was a global thing.
Yep. In fact, like the owners of the gallery that I worked at, the CEO, in fact, the CEO and the marketing director of the theatre that I worked at were both female. The publisher of the magazine that I worked at was female. So I had come from this world where I was working with women that were like just
badass,
incredible. And then I got back, and then I was in this industry, and I was like, I couldn't see. There were no women inside.
Melbourne's also
few in the sales team.
It's quite traditional, Melbourne, anyway. Like it's much out of all the cities. It's probably got the most still tradition.
Yeah, so it was a slap in the face. And so basically, I ended up calling, who's still a mentor and a friend, who ended up becoming a client. All the things. Still working with her today. I called Megan, and I was like, Megan Della Camino, she does some incredible work. She has a program called Women Rising. And I called her, and I was like, hi, I'm stuck in a job, and I don't know if this is for me, and I help, basically.
See, that was a sliding door.
Yeah, that was
you had no contact with her before, you just rang her?
No, I rang her. I found her. I watched a webinar, and she was talking about like female leadership and representation in the workplace.
That's cool.
And I called her, and it took, it's not like I saw her and then picked up the phone the next day. I obviously like stared at my phone. I'd go outside. I remember calling her like out the front of the workplace. Like I think it was on lunch break. I was just so desperate. I was just like, I'm just like, what? I need a mentor. I need a coach. I need someone that can help. And this is what, there is a glaring gap here where, right? With like the whole network piece. I didn't have the network in Melbourne to lean on. I didn't have anyone I could call that was kind of in the space that I was in, or perhaps wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I called her, and she threw me a lifeline. Like, I ended up doing one of her female leadership programs, flew to Sydney for it. Again, cool. 24, I would have been 24. 24-year-old me flew there in a room full of all these really impressive, powerful women from all different industries. And I was the little young one there, like, okay, let's learn. And I learned so much about myself, and so much about just, my values, my vision, my strengths, my, all of the amazing, incredible things that, you don't really learn about. And then I set a goal, I set an intention. And from there, I actually got hired by her and her business partner. And that was the start of my freelancing career.
I love the fact that you did that. Do you feel when you went to that course that you were almost back in Miami? Do you feel that you were in a free thinking? They had that, obviously it wasn't as warm. Well, it was Sydney, it would have been a bit warmer, but it wasn't as warm, it wasn't as colourful, it wasn't as quite vibrant. But did you feel that sort of freedom in your soul that you kind of get when you go into these environments?
100%. 100%. Cool. It was that moment where I was taking a chance on myself again.
And you felt at home, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I mean, intimidating. You're sitting there with with like Telstra execs. It was. It was intimidating, but not in a, but not. Also, yes, these are impressive women, but I look up to these women, and I'm going to learn something from them today. And it's okay that I'm here, but how amazing that I got to go and do that.
No, and but that's because you made the call.
I made the call.
How did you get the number? Because
I don't know.
It would have been. It wasn't as easy to get
I must have emailed her first, and perhaps she's like, "Here's my," or I to be honest, I don't remember the details of that. Maybe I don't know if it could have been on the website or but but yeah, it was pretty amazing. But when you get to a place where you're like, I can't sit here. I can't do this any longer. I want more. You have to take a chance on yourself. No one else is coming to save you.
No. And it's good when you realise that. Because that remains the same forever. That's not changing.
You're with yourself. You gotta save yourself, and you gotta like yourself.
As annoying as that is.
Yeah.
It's the reality.
Or love yourself. Sometimes you don't always like yourself, but So yes.
That's another whole different battle.
That's a whole nother. That's all we can.
That's a balance to grind interview. We'll do that. We'll do that another day.
Yeah.
So, and you've freelanced ever since, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was, freelanced in the, most of my clients, and especially Megan and a few other clients, were in the positive psychology wellbeing space, female leadership space. It was all about looking at who do you want to be in this world, what are your strengths? So what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? And, taking that forward, but also looking at like your well-being. So avoiding burnout and, all of those like amazing things, again, that we, I think are underrated and we don't talk about enough.
Not until it's too late.
Until it's too late. Correct.
We're not very good at prevention.
No, we're not. So most of my clients were in that space, which just, again, I'm, the self-awareness that's happening. I'm learning about these businesses. I'm learning about people in organizations. I'm learning about founders that are going on their own journey. And I was freelancing for about a couple of years, 4 years. And then that's when, I had been kind of talking to my friends about starting something else on the side. And I knew that, yes, freelancing was great, but there's an element that like, it can be a bit lonely and a bit. It's
very lonely, and there's no end to it. Like there's no belonging,
and you're not really like. Yes, you're building your own personal brand. Of course, you're building your own personal brand. You're helping others build their brands. I helped founders build some incredible brands, right? Global well-being, speaking, brands. They're authors. They were doing amazing things. I even co-created products with them. I really did get to try my hat at being a founder. Yeah. Kind of indirectly.
Kind of like a testing.
It was testing. Yeah, exactly. And then they'd bring me on to kind of co-create products and run workshops and so
again incredible experience.
So I'm getting all this incredible experience, right? And they're also like a lot of my clients paid for me to do training.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Which is a
freelancer. That's unusual.
Because I was really integrated in their teams.
Yeah.
And I think if you are a freelancer, never be afraid to ask like,
can you pay for me to
upskill me?
Were you ongoing? You weren't going in and doing a gig and then leaving, right? You were more embedded.
I had long-term clients.
To do things that they didn't have the skills to do.
Yeah, a lot of the time. Yeah, I had long-term, not like long and short, but a couple. And those long-term clients are the ones that like invest in you, right? They're going to pay for it, yeah. So I did that. And then, as I said, it got, you get a bit lonely, not lonely, but you're just like, okay, like what else? I've done all these things and I really want to build my founder network in Australia. How am I going to go about that? How am I going to tap into that? And so we created it ourselves. When you don't,
easiest way.
Sometimes. But yeah, often we hear people solving their own problems, and for me, that was really okay. Yeah, who do I want to meet? Who do I want to get to know? How can I help?
Who was your first person you approached? Someone you knew?
For which part?
For your podcast.
Oh, for the podcast? Yeah, because it started off with events and then the podcast. So like the events were just friends and friends of friends and bringing them together. The podcast, yes. So we reached out to Greta Van Riel.
Was your first person?
One of them, yeah.
Did you know her? Or
yeah,
no?
yeah. So we reached out to a few friends.
Yeah.
And then from there, when they said yes, we then put them in the deck, and then we would go out and kind of, you'd leapfrog off your
I had a friend for my first one as well. I was terrified.
Oh yeah, we had no idea what we're doing. No idea.
Like, what are you supposed to do? There's no book.
There's no book. We had our little traveling.
There wasn't even a podcast to tell you how to podcast.
Yeah, podcast to tell you how to podcast. Yeah, exactly. How to podcast, and it was new.
It was quite new. Yeah, it was very new. Actually,
we were one of the OGs, like as people call the show. So yeah, you just kind of wing it. But friends helped, and it makes it a little bit more of an easier interview.
I think you've got to do a friend for the first one.
Yeah.
I think at least someone you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It becomes easier.
It does become easier.
Like everything.
Yeah.
And how long before it sort of really took? Because it wasn't that easy to promote it either in those days.
No. Do you know what? It didn't take that long to kind of take.
5, 10 episodes? Week?
Yeah.
First one?
Yeah, like first probably 5, 10.
Well, she's a great first guest,
10.
right?
I mean, I was looking back the other day through like our socials, and people were just getting around the first, there's, we would promote it, and we did it like coming soon, the Lady Brains podcast and the tiles, and it was funky, it was fun. We teased it out. And then, people just really got around it pretty quickly.
And there wasn't a lot of lady stuff, if you want to call it that. I mean, the fact you use the word lady, where most people at that time would have been using the word woman.
Yeah.
I think that was, whether that was intentional or not, it was a cool play.
The name was sticky. The name was really sticky. And to this day, people still say, I love the name.
Yeah, the name's cool.
Yeah, it's a sticky name, and that definitely helped. I think the name helped. Although I don't know, do you remember? We actually launched with Ladyland.
No.
So it was so early days that like there was already a podcast called Lady Brains in the US, and they were like Southern, very
droll,
very different content to what we were putting out, and
almost opposing.
And so even though we were with a network, we got advice to. It was really random. We ended up going with Ladyland, then. We realized, we went with that. Then we signed with the network, and we were like, do we keep it? Do we switch it back to Lady Brains? And I remember us having a conversation with with the people at the network, and they were like, yeah, sounds like a bit of a stripper,
sounds like a place.
It sounds like a place, yeah. So we switched it out. We were like, well, this makes more sense. It's aligned.
It was a good change.
It was a good call.
Yeah, Ladyland, Lady World, none of those things.
Lady Brains.
Lady Brains is good.
But you didn't know whether you could, back then again, we were just, it was just figure it out as you go.
How many shows did you do in the end? Do you know?
There's like 110 or 100 something up, 120
and it was
up there.
6 years or something, roughly?
Yeah. Yep.
It's a long time, isn't it?
It's a long time.
When you think about how much you changed over that amount of time, that's a long time. And you would have, I'm sure you do, because I know I do. You learn so much doing podcasts.
Oh, 100%.
Like so much. It's like it's like reading their book, but the author reading it to you in an intense way.
It's from the listener perspective, from an advertiser's perspective, from their perspective, right? Being either a founder of the brand or the brand themselves, that is 60 minutes, say, of like captured promotion.
Yeah.
When you're a captured audience, you're promoting your story, people are buying in. The power of audio, the power of podcasting.
Yeah.
I don't think we realized that, but not to the degree. It wasn't really until we started sitting down with the networks that we signed with and looking through the data and really understanding it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it is still so powerful.
I listen to audiobooks as opposed to read.
Yeah.
Because one, I like the author reading
like
it.
Listening to them.
And they give you so much stuff in between. I just read a book just recently. I just finished it today. I love it when I finish a book. I get a sense of achievement.
Yeah, well done. What did you read?
I read The Gap and the Gain by Benjamin Hardy, which you would love.
Okay.
You should read it.
Great.
It's very much I'm not going to tell you too much about it.
Okay.
But they have, it's co-authored, right? So they have like a 20-minute conversation in between each chapter. So you feel like you're getting this incredible extra insight. And I've read these books by Kevin Hart. I don't know if you've ever read any of his books.
I haven't, but...
Oh my God, they're motivational books. They're actually really good. But he's so funny.
He's so good.
And listening to him read it, I listen when I'm riding on a bike, not that I ride any bike anymore, or running, or drive. I rode a bike shortly for a period of time. I did a little sporting thing, but I don't now. But I listen to it and you're completely engrossed in it.
Yeah, because you're completing another task. So your brain is like wired differently while you're listening and completing an activity. It's amazing. Like you can listen while you're cooking. Do you know what I love the most? So we used to get feedback from our listeners, and probably the most, like, what I would consistently hear from our listeners if they would kind of DM us or write in or call us, sounds like talk back. They would say, oh my God, we just put this episode on in our warehouse. Everyone in the warehouse is listening to it together. So we had teams, which doesn't also, like, I think about our stats, it doesn't even reflect. Like,
you're underdoing yourself.
We had entire teams, entire organizations listening to an episode together. Like, I just love that. And I know, I'm sure, because it was the business focus, and people would learn, then they'd dissect it, then they'd discuss it, then they would apply it. Like, it was...
Did you ever do merch?
Yeah, we did.
I was going to say,
we did merch in lockdown, and I modeled it like in the park next door. I got my housemate to take photos. Like the whole thing was done in lockdown. I did I did the whole like flat lay, set up a little photo studio in my house. Then did the photo shoot in the park next door, like one at nighttime in the dark.
I'm going to go and look
flash
for this
photography.
online.
And you know what? I think also, people were in lockdown, they had nothing else to do. They were spending money. But it was hugely successful, that first first drop. And the people still wear the jumpers. I saw someone wearing one the other day. Like,
did you go up to them?
No, like I know her.
Oh, you know
her.
them.
I saw her on Instagram. She was doing a story, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cute that people are still wearing it." And
why not?
hats. We had all of it.
What was not your favorite guest? What was the favorite? Because that's a big question, and you're going to upset so many people. So we won't do that.
All of them.
Absolutely, all equal.
All of them.
I could ask you your worst is, but that's even worse.
What was your favorite? I could tell you who my worst. No.
Tell me after.
No one.
What was the favorite thing you learned about in doing that, about yourself or about the podcasting? What do you think was the most enjoyable thing about the whole thing?
Oh,
that's a big question.
Gosh, that's a huge question. I think what I'm most it's probably two things. One is you definitely improve and get better over time with practice. Now, I know that is really obvious, but if I listen back to one of my original episodes, sometimes I don't even speak. Like, now, to be fair, there were three of us, so it was always hard to get a word in with two people that love to chat. But you're finding you're literally finding your voice. I think podcasting and TV, but maybe podcasting a little more because you're not so worried about what you look like. It's such a great training center. Like, you step into that room, you put your headphones on, and you just start to listen to yourself. And it's media training, right?
I suppose it is, yeah.
It's the best form of media training. And where I was 6 years ago to where I am now, not saying that I'm perfect, but I've definitely come a long way.
Yeah.
And I think I can hold my own. And I think what it's taught me is to also be able to, yes, prepare. I do a lot of research and preparation, but I also go in there and I listen actively. It's active listening. And so if the conversation now needs to deviate, go in a different direction, that's also fine. Yeah. So I think that
adaptability.
The adaptability. So the skills, obviously, it was one thing.
Did you analyze one thing we don't have time to do it with our podcast because we have too many other things going on, but I would love to sit and just do the podcast and nothing else. And every week, analyze it, look at the stats, look at what I could do better, look at the little changes I could make. I would love to. And I heard Stephen Bartlett talk about this in his book that I've just listened to as well, which is a really cool book. Because I like his podcast. He gets some really fascinating guests.
He's great.
But his book is also really interesting, and he talks about how they obsess over the podcast and how tiny little details. And I would to have the luxury to be able to do that. Did you get, because you were very successful, you might have had the time to do that.
We were pretty obsessive. And I think at the end of the day, it is a good show. And that you have to have a good product, and it was, and that's why people listen. That's why, we had a fairly consistent listener group. What's it called?
Readership. We'll call it readership. It's not that, but listenership.
Listen rate. Whatever it is. I don't know. So, people, the stats are there.
Someone else analysed that.
Yeah, something like that. And then, we would figure out, okay, 40 minutes is ideal, or we'd figure out, you'd start to figure that out, apply that. You definitely, you learn. Look, we did other things, so you couldn't just obsess over that. It'd be cool to just have a show and call her daddy, just, signed a contract, for, I think it was $120 million or something, 120 million. Cool, if someone pays me $125 million, I will scrutinize the shit out of my
I'll
next
come and
podcast.
scrutinize with you. I'm there.
I'm there. Cool. I will live and breathe that thing for $125 million. But you do. You learn things. And also we had the added benefit of we were with both of the major networks in Australia. So, being able to sit down and learn from journalists, from, producers, from the most incredible people that have backgrounds in radio, in real storytelling. I took a lot away from that experience as well. What makes a good story, how to edit it, how to cut it together. So yes, I learned a lot. The other thing that I learned and that I'm really proud of is towards the end, we created a mini series that sits in our show. And that was with the 1-2. So they're founders who became Lady Brain's listeners. And then they started their own business, a bra tech company. And I was part of that journey. They came in, they did our Brains Trust program where we mentored them and supported them through the early stages of their founder journey. I became friends with them. They would come to our events, all of these things. And we ended up investing in their company.
Cool.
We invested in the 1-2, partly because I mean, there's obviously many reasons why you choose to invest in a company, but lived experience, not being able to find the right size bra, I'm just going to put that one out there. But also, I love the founders, and they've got incredible backgrounds. They work really hard. I love the product. And I was able to see the journey and go on that journey with them. And we were able to then tell their story in a 5-part series. And that was an entirely new skill set.
So a mini doco.
It's a mini doco. And
cool.
there are sound effects in there. There's yeah, no, I know. Listen,
what kind of sound effects?
Oh my God. When they say they're going overseas, there's a plane, there's like when they're in the city, when they're in New York, there's New York street sounds. It's cool. But there would be sound effects. Then there was also we'd add voiceover. Yep. So we would, kind of narrate the story. That was an entirely new skill set. We ended up winning an award for that. And I'm really proud of that work because it was different. It was different. We were learning on the go. Yes, we were able to apply a lot of what we'd learned, and there is obviously the interview component there. But it was really fun and challenging and
new, right?
And new, and then it's a full circle. Being able to also invest in them and watch their journey, continue. And to share their story on our podcast. I'm really proud of that. And I learned that you can do different things within the constraints of what you've created.
Well, we touched on this before we started filming. We should touch on it now in that, where you're at now, I think you have a brain similar to mine. You like to do a lot of things, right?
Yes, multi-passionate.
Everyone keeps telling me you're too thinly spread. You need to focus. But I can't focus, so that's a waste of time.
What do you tell them?
I say I'm focusing on lots of things, and that's my focus. I need different things to focus on, or I can't actually focus. Yeah. So as long as those different focuses have some line of connection somewhere, then you're focused on the whole thing. That's my view. That's maybe just what I tell myself, but
to make yourself feel better.
Yep, and make them go away.
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. I mean, you're not dissimilar. You have a lot of things going on right now. You're looking for new things at the same time as doing other things. Like you're all over the shop too, which is how people describe it.
Like all over the shop. I don't know. You can take that. I don't feel like I'm all over the shop.
Well, you're all over the shop looking around.
I'm shopping.
Let's go.
I'm shopping for new ideas. Yeah, I get
shopping
that.
And all over the shop.
I get that. All over the shop. All over the shop for me, there's that connotation of just like not having your shit together.
I think that's what they mean when they're talking about.
I don't have my shit together 24/7. You can take that one. I'll say I'm shopping. You can be all over the shop.
Okay.
Shopping, maybe not. I don't know. So what do I think about this? I think we are similar. I'm like multi-passionate human being, if you will. I like to think that you can do all the things.
You can.
Perhaps you can't do them all at once. And, depending on your appetite, but also, your commitments, time.
It depends on intertwine
your life.
Right? If you can do, because I'll give you a great example. I had when was it? Doesn't matter what day it was. The other day, I had 2 or 3 people come in and see me about completely different things. Yeah. And I ended up talking to all of them about all of the different things that I'm doing. And we found connection points on all of them. Yeah. So I had 3 meetings, but it was like having 12. Yeah. So I don't know. That's my view on it.
No, I agree. And I think you can kind of stack things, right? You can stack your skills and your talents, your strengths and your values. So, for example, yes, I now would consider, I've studied media, but I also have the practical experience of, launching a successsoul podcast, and that is transferable. I can help people.
Miniseries as well.
I could go and create a show for someone else, someone else. I could, start another one for myself. Yep. I advise people that come to me like, I want to start a podcast. So yes, I advise, I coach, I mentor. So I'm doing different things, but let's just look at it under the guise of, media and podcasting.
Yep.
Then obviously, I've got the experience in the wellbeing and wellness space. Again, helping founders build businesses and brands. Like I've got a brand background. Yeah. I've built the Lady Brains brand. I've built lots of brands. So again, whether I go into consult, whether I coach, whether I mentor, whether I start my own writing or, video segment.
Are you a writer?
Yeah, I love
it. It's a skill that is dying.
It's a skill. Oh, do you know what? Substack's pretty thriving, I reckon.
I had a really interesting conversation with someone who you probably know, who I won't mention in case you don't like them, and you might get a funny look on your face. But I'll tell you afterwards. But
we could bleep it out.
We could bleep it. No, we're not doing it. It's too risky. Anyway, we were having a conversation really early this morning, and we were talking about AI and how it's going to affect media.
Yeah.
And I put a post out on LinkedIn about 3 months ago where I said, does anyone want to talk about AI and media with me? I'm interested to know what you think, because I had some things going around in my head because I'm all over the shop.
All over the shop.
Anyway, I got the most amazing response from a gentleman in Europe who manages the AI policy for the UN. How that happened. He said, do you want to have a call? I'm like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So
hell yeah.
he rang me as I was pulling up outside the gym. So I sat in my car and talked to him on
on your phone.
On the phone.
Yeah. Love a car meeting.
Love a car meeting for like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Love.
And it was one of the most fascinating conversations I've had. And I wanted to move one of our media brands to be entirely AI to see what would happen. And he didn't necessarily think it was a great idea. But what he said was he believes what will happen is right now there's a blurring between written and AI written. And some people are hiding it, some people aren't. What he thinks will happen is it will completely separate and you will have completely AI written and then completely human written.
Yeah, okay.
And that no one wants blended because they don't understand it. And that's like your glossy magazine. And this is like your English literature. And he thinks that the written stuff will be of higher value, but this will be more commoditized. So there'll be money in both. That was his view. And it was a bit much for 6 a.m. before the gym, I have to say.
That's a lot,
he was overseas, so it made sense. But it's just really interesting how that is going to change.
It will change. I think though, I think the storytelling component is just so important.
Absolutely.
It's lived experience and being able to
AI
share
can't do that.
AI can't do that.
That's the point. That was his point, I think, was that storytelling is not, it doesn't have the stories.
No.
It doesn't have the lived experience.
Yes, it can, aggregate like information and pull all of that together. Yeah. And so I think the kind of the lesson stuff and I recommend you do X, that kind of, advice columns and pieces like that.
That can
yes,
be
AI can be, but when you're starting to then put in your own experience and that
proper
human
writing
element, right? I don't think that you can fake that. And I also think what you're reading. Like we're also still pretty smart.
I think the brains are pretty smarter than we think. Well, the good news is that if you're a writer, your writing skill is going to become the Hermes of bags, or the Dior of bags. That's what it's going to become. It's so valuable and much more desired.
That's so true. Also, again, I find this really funny, and I don't know what this says, but I applied for a job. I mind you, I hadn't had a job interview in 10 years, and I applied for this job. This amazing job came up
recently,
last year.
Yeah,
and I applied for this job. And it was like through Applied, which is, they remove any bias. Yep. So they don't know who's applying.
Yep.
And you have to answer 3 questions. Anyway, the first time I applied, I wrote it and I submitted it and then it didn't get through. The next time, because I didn't hire anyone in the first round, the second round, I took what I had written, put it into AI to jazz it up a bit. So they were my ideas, but I would just go, all right, I'm just going to I did a bit of editing, then put it into AI, and again, then I re-edit a lot of stuff. But I used it as a tool.
Yep.
Put it back in, applied, got through, then managed to get into the top. I didn't get it, but I was in the top 3. People who got for the job application, and I find that so fascinating.
Why do you think that was?
So first time didn't get through. Then got through and got right all the way through.
What did you say to did you say jazz it up? Surely you gave it. What did you actually say?
Do you know what's funny? I can't really remember.
Did you give it the context of the company and stuff? I must have given the
context. I wouldn't have been that good at prompts because I wasn't really using it. So I'm not going to say it was a sophisticated prompt. But
it's interesting. It could have just been.
I just find that really fascinating.
Worrying?
Yeah, like worrying. Like what does that? I have worrying. Or it helped me say what I needed to say in a better way. Like I'm not anti it, but I also just love. You just enjoy kind of writing and bashing stuff out. Like
think of it this way, right?
Yeah.
Storytelling, right? Goes back to when time began. It improved over radio.
Yeah.
It improved through television. It improved through podcasts. And now it's just improving through AI. It's the same kind of evolution.
You're right.
It's not quite the same, but it's an evolution. And I think one of the things I was reading this morning. I woke up really early this morning. I was excited you were coming on the show.
Oh, thank you.
So I woke up really early, but I was reading and they were saying that, if you go back to the Wright brothers, right, when they were dreaming of flying, which was impossible, it's impossible for them to fathom that a teenager would be sitting there with a mobile phone. So our brains are not actually capable of imagining what is going to happen. And it's
Yeah.
because it's happening so much faster now, it's even more daunting, I think.
So true. It's so true.
So what's next now? Apart from the holiday on Friday, tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, the holiday.
But you will have come back on by the time this comes out, I would assume, because we're not releasing this tomorrow. I don't know when we're releasing it. Well, how long is the holiday?
Don't know.
Oh, well, maybe it will.
Got a one-way ticket.
Depends how this is received.
A one-way ticket out of here. Yeah. I may never be back. Yeah. No. That'll be fun.
Miami?
Bit of work, bit of holiday. No, going to, no.
But yeah, I mean, what's the, you're going to think and all that kind of stuff and relax and just have some fun, right? So where's your head at when you come back? Do you have some projects you're ready to get back to and you're just going to see what else eventuates, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, right, the work that I've been doing and what I love so much is supporting women, particularly early stage founders, or young women that are in organizations that, again, are scratching their head a little like I was, in my early 20s going, hey, is this it? Is this my pathway? Is this what I want? Is this how I'm going to create, wealth for myself? And, I mentioned earlier I was working with a group of 20-year-olds and
you made them all cry.
And aside from making them all cry. But they were wondering, like, how am I going to afford the lifestyle that I want to live?
Well, there's a lot more now, right, to do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more visualization of what can be with social media. So I think that desire to get there quicker is much stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's continuing to support women, and I love my coaching clients, again, early stage founders or women that are in corporate or in organizations that are just wondering, can I start a side hustle? Should I start a side hustle? When is it the right time to, leave my cushy, job and go all in? And so, working with them is such a joy. I really, really enjoy it. But also, they come to me and it's never, ever just about the business. It's always about like what's going on behind the scenes and what are the stories that you're carrying through and what are the limitations and what are the struggles. And, again, it's that balance. And I credit that to study. I ended up studying positive psychology way back when. And I credit that, like looking at your well-being and being a really conscious founder, conscious founder, conscious human, conscious worker. Your responsibility to take care of yourself and do the work. So I try and look at it from all angles and help them, figure out their life goals, their work goals, their well-being goals, and take that, holistic approach. So I'm doing that. So working one-on-one, working in-house with, startups and organizations to help them build a really cohesive team that they all support each other. They all know each other's strengths and values. And I really love doing that work. And then I'm really curious, we're in an interesting spot where, we're looking at 65% of wealth is going to be transferred to women by 34.
Yes, and 10 years, 9
years.
Yeah,
and so
I thought it was sooner actually, but
and this is, still, I would still consider myself relatively, fresh in this kind of area. But having now started to dabble in angel investing, dabbling, it's probably not a dabbling activity, is it?
Well, it's gambling.
It's gambling, yeah.
It's gambling, it is. I mean,
but, dabbling in angel investing, starting to support a lot of the funds, like there are female-focused funds, right?
There's quite a few.
And a lot of them come to me saying, hey, what's the, you've created a community for women in business.
Yep.
Is there a pipeline here? And I'm really enjoying that. So connecting founders and funders, I'm doing a lot of that at the moment, and that's feeling really rewarding for me.
We do it, and it's really rewarding.
Yeah,
we do it as a side thing. It's amazingly rewarding because you're helping them.
Yep.
You're helping them in a thing that is incredibly daunting and hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I look at, that transfer of wealth, what is going to happen, what needs to happen, are they going to be supported in that journey, the women that are going to come into this money?
Unless someone like you does it, no.
Right, and so I'm starting to look kind of 10 years ahead going, okay, what's the opportunity there? Yeah. How could I support these women that are going to, find themselves, with some capital to perhaps invest or to start businesses.
Yeah.
I think that's super, super exciting. I'm also looking at how do we close the gap? How do we close the funding gap?
How do we? You know this is a topic that comes up on this show.
I know.
Always.
I love that you talk about it.
We don't have an answer. We've not come up. No one has given me. As I've said before, there's thousands of people addressing it, and every week the report comes out, and it's the same. It's 3%, if or less.
Yeah.
That's just. 3% is so low.
It's so low.
It got up to 5
ridiculous.
Briefly for 2 weeks, I think, and that was just a weird fortnight where someone must have been away.
And I love how we think 5% is like, oh my God,
oh, no, woo.
yeah, woo.
It's crazy.
It is. Look, it's a huge problem.
And the stats don't support it either. That's the even more crazy thing. Everyone's data obsessed, and yet the data says female founders are a better investment, and yet they don't get any. I don't understand that. Most of these VCs have not run businesses. We've had that conversation before. Some have, but a lot haven't. So you'd think they'd follow the data, but they don't. They don't because the data tells them to do something that they don't do.
Yeah, I think firstly, you have to acknowledge that this is a multifaceted problem. It's not. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's so complicated, it's so hard. It's like, what do we do? I don't actually think it's that complicated. I think if we look at it from let's look at it from like funder and founder, right? Like that's pretty simple. There's two sides.
It exists on both sides,
It exists on both sides, okay? Now, quite often you have the funder saying it's the funder saying it's the founder. The founders aren't coming through. We have a pipeline. Like they kind of push it back on the founders. Then the founders are going, well, the funders aren't, allowing me.
Not meeting us.
They're not meeting us where we need to be met. So firstly, I think we just need to stop fighting. I think there's two kind of, we need to go.
Intervention. We need an intervention to bring them together.
It's an intervention, and I've got another framework that I think might work. So I think there's that. We look at it from the founder and funder and acknowledge that there are things that we need to look at on both sides of this equation. Then if you layer that with, say, I don't know if you've heard of this framework, the me, we, us or world, right? Okay, so me acknowledges, let's look at it from the founder perspective. Me as a founder, okay. I need to look at whether or not there firstly is a financial literacy gap, because we know that Australia has a financial literacy gap, right? So I need to go and upskill where I need to upskill. Okay, I need to acknowledge that perhaps I have a money story, or there's something there that, I'm holding myself back. Perhaps I'm not putting myself out for opportunities. Perhaps, I've been told that, there's a myriad of different stories. Problem. Right. So then I look at kind of like a me. What's in my control? What can I do? Am I going out and networking? Am I being an active networker? Am I spending... am I meeting someone new every day, whether it's a half an hour phone call? What am I doing? What's my responsibility as a founder? As a funder, they also need to look at the me and go, okay, have I done gender bias training? Have I acknowledged the problem firstly? So many, VC funds don't even acknowledge the problem. So
unconscious bias, they're unconscious.
Yeah, the unconscious bias, right? Because they're all, a lot of them obviously are funding people that look like themselves. We know this. There's data here. I'm not saying anything new.
It's very true.
So from the individual perspective, am I investing in people within my network that I, just know and trust and think is a good person? That there is a responsibility on the me. We all have that. And I think we all need to acknowledge that. And there needs to be resources to support that.
And that needs to be done before anything else, right?
Correct. Then there's the kind of the we. So that's like small teams. So maybe if you're in a founder team, let's come up with a strategy, let's just say it's a female and 2 males. Don't disempower the woman on the team. Maybe she should be the one that's going out there and knocking on doors and understands how to pitch, and let's empower her. Then again, the teams from a funder side, what is that VC fund doing? What are they doing differently? Are they actually reporting their metrics? They should be. I think that, and we'll get to that in a minute, but what are they doing as a team? What are they doing as an organization? They have a responsibility to kind of be, this should be on the agenda. If not every week.
Every week.
Every week. Talk about it.
Should be a KPI every week, right?
Are you allocating more time every week? Maybe they are, maybe more time every week to speak to more female founders at different stages. Because what we know is that if you speak to founders earlier, they're more likely to feel supported through that journey and then come back to you. Because a lot of women don't I guess, approach a VC fund too early because they think they're not ready.
Yep.
But perhaps they are, or they're almost there, but they wait until they really feel ready.
They don't build the relationship which you have to do.
Correct. Again, and that comes back to a me thing.
Yeah.
But also the place has to be inviting. So
Yes.
what are they doing that doesn't feel inviting? And let's not pinkwash here. There's a lot of pinkwashing in this industry. But what can we do that's going to attract top tier talent, and how can we make them feel comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
They've got to ask themselves that question. Then so that's me, there's a we, there's an us. There's an us, and there's like a global lens that we apply to this.
Yep.
And I think that looks like policy. I think that, reporting on the statistics should be mandated. It should be. Equity Clear is doing some work, and there are a few big funds that are reporting on how many women are pitching, how many pitches do they see. So looking at it from the pipeline perspective, and then also looking at it from the other side of the coin, which is how many women are we funding?
Yep.
And I know there's probably more data on that, but tell us how many pitches you've seen from women this week. I would genuinely like to know.
Yeah. Not decks, pitches.
Not decks, pitches. So I want to understand. It should be mandated. I really do believe that. I don't think that's a lot of VC funds go, oh, that feels scary, and this is scary, and some have stepped up to the plate, and I appreciate that. It's not scary. It has to be done. There is a problem. And, I think, feel uncomfortable for 5 minutes. Imagine, put yourself in our shoes and how
it's
uncomfortable
scary
this
because they
is.
know the answers.
They know the answers. So, I think that there's a government perspective, then there's looking at education. Again, let's encourage and support, girls from a young age to have a healthy relationship with money.
That has gotten better.
Gotten better.
Not there, but it's gotten better. It's going in the right direction. I feel.
Going in the right direction.
And that is a slow burn. Anything to do with education takes a long time.
Oh, 100%. It does. But I think, you catch it early, and then, you just feel like you're setting women up for success, setting girls and then women up for success. So looking at the educational component, and then I think what should be done, we're always talking about the problem, right? What is the problem? How do we solve it? Let's look at what's going right. I would love to know the founders, the pitches that have come through, where did they come from? And I'm sure this data exists, right?
It would do.
What's the pipeline? What event did they come from? Or what introduction did they come from? Where? What's the, let's look at what's working. I know that's a very small figure, but let's look at what's working, and let's look globally.
That's what everyone does in tech, isn't it?
Let's get everyone together and I think I love the framework, the appreciative inquiry framework, right? It's a 4D model. It looks at, so we first D is discover. Let's look at what's going well, as I said. So let's get everyone in the room, cross-section, people, the funders, founders, people that are, thinking about, raising capital, some that already have, and some that have perhaps exited. Let's get people in the industry, you and me, that have perspectives on this, or are male allies. Let's get a cross-section of, society that are in the startup space, education, policy.
Yep.
Everyone in the room, and go, let's look at what's going well. We unpack that. Then we go, that's discover. Let's dream up what's possible. What are some of the solutions here? Based on what we know, what works, let's go to dream, and let's start thinking about some of the solutions that we can apply to different, to the VC and the funding side. So funding and founder side. Then let's design. So we've dreamed up the best possible scenario. What does the ecosystem look like in 5 years, 10 years, whatever? Yep. Let's design the solutions, and then let's deliver them. And I think we're not taking a proactive enough approach. I know there's stuff out there, don't get me wrong, but I think if we all come together and we try to solve this, and maybe that sounds a little bit, like utopia, but I do think that there are things that haven't been explored that can help solve this problem.
I don't think that's utopia. We went to this community event last night, right? Community collective event. It was all about that. Everybody spoke about how the ecosystem is all about that.
Totally.
So there's no reason why we can't do that.
There's no reason why we can't do this.
Because we do that with other things, just not this.
Yeah. And I really think that the big funds need to step up and lead this.
I agree.
And I think they need to stop saying, oh, this is so hard and this is so challenging.
Suck it up.
Get over it.
Yeah.
You've got all the money there. This is a huge problem. It needs to be solved. Step up to the plate. I encourage anyone to reach out, and I'm happy to help.
As soon as you get back from holiday.
So this is when I get back from holiday. But I love that problem, and I want to help solve that problem. And
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I know. I don't get me wrong. I definitely.
But I think it
do.
needs accelerators. It needs people to accelerate it because everybody kind of wants to, but nobody really
Yeah,
is.
yeah. And exactly. And I think that a lot of the kind of, as I mentioned, pink washing or, creating the accelerated programs or the female leadership programs, just to make it look like you're kind of doing something, I think can be really dangerous.
It's like the environmental policies and all those you get in big corporates, right? They're very much lip service.
It's a lot of lip service.
The person who creates them is usually full of the passion, but the actual, you need to get everyone to buy into it, otherwise it doesn't work.
Absolutely. So, look, I'd love to say that I've got all the answers. I definitely don't, but I do think that there are steps that can be taken to help us kind of come together and start to move that needle. Like
I've had an idea.
What?
I'm not going to tell you now. I'm going to tell you later.
You're going to tell me after?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you after.
Well, I'm excited because you're opening a club, and we're going off on tangents here. But, I do think that you're opening a club. You obviously mentioned to me you want to get, more women as founding members. And this is the start of where you create something that is equal. And I think, business, especially tech and finance in Australia, has a bit of a branding problem, right?
It's funny. You say equal, right? And I want 40%, which actually isn't equal. But everyone's going, well, that's a big target. And I'm going, we really want 40% female founding members. And everyone's going, that's a big target. That's not actually even equal. We're not 50. 50 is equal. And you just when you said you want to make it more equal, I'm thinking, well, I'm not even going for equal. I'm going for under equal. I should be going for 60.
You should be. You should be.
And look, we've done everything possible to try and do that. We've thought about the spaces. We've thought about everything, the design, the whole lot. But yeah.
My best suggestion, let's deduct the funding gap. So that'll be a 97% discount. Sold.
3% of the price.
3% of the price. Yeah.
Geez, that would work.
That would.
We'd have
work.
80%.
And you're like, I'm not making any money here.
We've gone bust.
Yeah, we've gone bust.
Yeah.
But look, happy to let's see what's worked out there. And this isn't, it just takes a bit of thought and talking to different industries and countries. What's working over in the US? How are they? They're a little bit ahead, I think.
Bit.
But what is working?
It's not working in the UK either.
Yeah.
There'll be somewhere. You know what? It'll be one of those annoyingly smug countries like Finland or Sweden. They're probably nailing it.
Great. I'm heading over there. I'm probably going to head over there. So I'll see who I can.
They always are. But no one knows. They keep it.
No
to
one knows
themselves.
what they do. Yeah. No. Stop gatekeeping.
Because it's dark half the year.
Success. Yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap it up because we've been talking for ages.
We could.
I heard you say to me 40 minutes is the ideal time. That was your analytics. We must have gone way over. I don't know how long.
It's
I haven't
now 12:30. It's
I don't know what time. Where did we start?
Like 11:15.
We were talking a lot at the beginning. I don't know.
We're at 1 hour.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Nice to be on.
It's so good to have you on. We're going to get you on
again.
again.
Can you have me back?
Yeah, we're going to get you on the other show, remember? Not today because we won't have time. But
no, I told you once you get me talking.
Yeah.
But look, I'll be back because I think we'll have some. I'm really excited. It's been, it's been a year, but I'm also really excited for what's next.
We've had some good chats the last 3 days. I think there's a lot to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about.
All right. Well, look, thank you. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. What a show. See, it's worth waiting for these ones. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next week.